Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Kevin and I am here on behalf of Safe Drive Systems. Today we're going to walk through a simple and practical way to choose the right safety and tracking systems for your fleet. Whether you run 10 vehicles or 80, whether you're in service, construction, regional transport, or field operations, my goal is to give you clear guidance based on real fleet challenges. No hype, no complicated tech talk, just straightforward information that'll help you make smart decisions and avoid buying too much or too little equipment. By the end of this session, you'll know exactly what each major safety component does, when you truly need it, and when it might not be necessary for your fleet. The goal here is to help you choose with confidence and build a setup that improves safety, lowers risk, and supports your drivers. So let's get started. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with what is at stake, then walk through the core safety components, do a quick self-assessment, and finish with how Safe Driving Systems supports fleets. Let's begin with what is at stake for fleets today. Understanding the real risks and costs makes it much easier to see why the right safety system matters. The core challenge for most fleets is visibility. If you can't see what is happening on the road or across your operation, it becomes very difficult to manage risk. The right safety system gives you continuous insight into your drivers and vehicles, along with the ability to monitor and control your fleet in real time. It provides data, the data you need to make smarter decisions and keep your operation predictable and of course safe. So here's what guessing really costs a fleet. A preventable crash often ends up at more than $150,000 once you add downtime, repairs, and liability. Every hour a vehicle sits can cost close to $100, and 1 in 5 crashes occurs in poor visibility. On top of that, even a single incident can push your insurance premium higher, adding long-term cost that many fleets do not anticipate. Without the right systems in place, your odds of a serious incident go up. And when something does happen, you may not have the proof you need to protect your drivers or your business. These numbers show why visibility and early detection matter so much for mid-sized fleets. Choosing the right setup can feel impossible because every fleet operates differently, but every mistake costs about the same. So the real challenge is finding the right level of protection without overspending or adding tools your team can't realistically manage. Weather and routes change your exposure, driver experience, budget cycles, these also shape what you actually need. You buy too little, you end up without visibility at the moments that matter the most. You buy too much, rollout becomes slow and costly. So our goal today is to help you cut through the noise with a simple, vendor-neutral way to understand what your fleet truly needs. Okay, so mid-size fleets face unique pressure. You are expected to run just as safely and efficiently as the big fleets, but without the same resources or room for trial and error. Mixed-tier trucks create compatibility challenges when you try to add new technology. Smaller teams mean you need solutions that are clear and easy to manage, not systems that add more complexity. And at the same time, the financial impact hits harder. Insurance hikes affect mid-sized fleets much more quickly, and one claim can change your entire cost structure. And of course, there's the weather. Sudden storms, fog, snow, these all raise your risk overnight and increase the likelihood of collisions. All of these pressures stack up, which is why choosing the right safety tools is not just helpful for mid-sized fleets, it's essential. All right, now that we understand the pressure fleets face, let's move into the core components that make up a modern safety and tracking system. We're going to go through each one in simple terms so you know what it does, why it matters, and whether your fleet truly needs it. So let's start with radar. A forward collision warning radar uses radio waves to detect vehicles and potential hazards ahead of your truck. Because it relies on radio signals instead of visuals, it keeps working in conditions that normally limit cameras, like fog or rain, snow, or even a direct glare. That consistency is what makes radar such an important safety layer for fleets. So why does this matter? Radar provides reliable forward collision protection in all weather. When cameras struggle, radar continues to measure distance and closing speed, and it gives drivers more reaction time and reduces the risk of collisions. These are the incidents that often become the most expensive for a fleet, both in repairs as well as downtime. This is why radar is often considered the foundation of forward collision avoidance, especially for fleets that deal with changing weather or reduced visibility. Now let's take a look at whether radar is actually needed for your fleet. This decision tree will break it down step by step. The first question is very simple. Do your vehicles already have a forward collision warning radar from the manufacturer? Obviously, if the answer is yes, then all you need to do is make sure the system is properly calibrated, and you also want to make sure that you can access the data. In that case, you don't need an additional radar. If not, then you need to consider your operating environment. Do you run in harsh weather or low visibility for at least 20% of your routes? If that answer is yes, then radar is highly recommended because it gives you weatherproof detection all year long. If the weather isn't a major factor, think about your recent history. Have you had any forward collision incidents or even near misses in the past 12 months? If the answer is yes, radar can absolutely add valuable reaction time and help reduce preventable collisions. And if none of those apply, the final question is whether you are expanding into tougher seasons or new routes soon. If you are, then it can definitely be worth piloting radar on your highest risk vehicles and evaluating the results. If not, hold off for now, maybe reassess in 6 months. Now let's talk about AI dash cams. An AI dash cam is a dual lens camera system that uses artificial intelligence to automatically detect, analyze, and alert for risky driving behaviors. This can include things like phone use, distraction, tailgating, or rolling through signals. The key point is that the system identifies these behaviors on its own. No one needs to sit there and skim through hours of video. It does all of that heavy lifting for you. Drivers will receive an in-cab alert when something unsafe happens, and the system captures HD video for coaching, for accountability, or of course for claims if an incident does occur. So why does this one matter? Well, distraction is honestly one of the leading causes of preventable accidents, and AI can help you catch it early. It also gives you reliable video proof, which can reduce the disputed claim costs. And of course, it protects drivers when they're not at fault. AI dash cams, they really help keep drivers accountable, and they give your fleet visibility that you can actually act on. So let's take a look at whether AI dash cams make sense for your fleet. This decision tree walks you through step by step. The first question is whether you feel you have real control over driver behavior today. If the answer is no, AI dash cams can really give you continuous visibility and measurable control without adding more work for you and your team. If you do feel you have good control, the next question is whether you have had any crashes linked to distraction, phone use, tailgating, or speeding. If so, AI dash cams can detect those behaviors early and help coach drivers before incidents occur. If it's not an issue, well, maybe think about your insurance needs. Do you need video proof for discounts or claims? If you do, adding AI dash cams and cloud storage makes the process much faster and easier. And of course, if none of those apply, then the last question is whether your current process is truly enough to detect and correct distraction. If it isn't, then consider running a 60-day pilot to test the technology and build your policy before rolling it out. If it is enough for now, AI dash cams may be optional. Again, just review the decision again, maybe each quarter, every 6 months, something like that. Okay, now let's talk about 360-degree vision systems. A 360 system uses multiple cameras placed around the vehicle to give you full awareness of everything happening on the sides and behind the truck. It's designed to eliminate blind spots, especially during those tight turns or lane changes or situations where the vehicle's backing up. And why does this matter? Well, side and backing collisions make up more than a quarter of all fleet claims, and these are usually low speed but very costly incidents. A 360 system helps drivers see what they normally can't, whether it's a vehicle, a pedestrian, a cyclist, or an obstacle hidden in a blind spot. It builds driver confidence, it reduces stress in congested areas, which obviously is huge, and it prevents those avoidable bumps or scrapes that they just add up so quickly. All right, to see whether a 360-degree vision system fits your operation, let's walk through a few practical questions that reflect real-world driving conditions. The first question is whether you operate large vehicles in tight areas like yards, city streets, docks, or job sites. If the answer is yes, adding 360 vision or blind spot coverage is strongly recommended because these situations create the highest number of low-speed side and backing collisions. If you've ever watched a truck drive around a city, you understand what this is all about. If that does not describe your routes, the next question is whether you have had 2 or more side or backing incidents in the past 12 months. If you have, then adding side and rear coverage with the driver live display and recording can help prevent repeated issues. If your incidents have been pretty minimal, consider how your drivers maneuver day to day. Do they frequently back into docks or navigate congested areas? If so, a 360 system can really reduce their stress, and it cuts avoidable low-speed accidents. And if none of this applies to you and your routes are mostly open roads with light vehicles, a 360 system may not be needed right now. You can just simply reassess if your fleet's routes or vehicle types change. Let's move on to telematics and fleet management. At its core, telematics starts with GPS tracking. It tells you where your vehicles are and gives you basic movement and location information. When you start to step into advanced telematics, you get a much fuller picture of your operation. This can include diagnostics, maintenance alerts, geofence, idling and speed reports, route data, and in some systems, even the video and behavior events captured by your dash cams. Everything flows into one platform, so you're not juggling multiple systems or guessing what is happening on the road. So why does this matter? Well, advanced telematics can turn everyday driving data into real insights that help you improve safety. It helps you control fuel costs. It reduces downtime, and it just runs a more efficient fleet. It gives you one place to see your vehicles, your drivers, and operations in real time, which is super helpful for teams that don't have all that extra staff. So when you're evaluating telematics, start with a very simple question. Is real-time vehicle location something your operation relies on? If it isn't, then telematics probably optional for now. If you do need real-time visibility, then the next thing to consider is a basic tracking system enough, or do you need more detailed insight? If your operation would benefit from alerts or reports on things like idling or driver behavior, speeding, or geofencing, then an advanced fleet management platform is the better fit because it gives you those tools automatically. Another helpful question would be, would having everything in one portal make your job easier? If you're already using dash cams, ELDs, or asset tracking systems, a unified system can bring all that data together so you don't have to just bounce between platforms, which can be really annoying. But if you only need simple movement and location data, and none of the additional reporting or integration is necessary for you, then honestly, basic GPS tracking is perfectly sufficient. Now let's take a look at ELDs. An ELD, or electronic logging device, automatically records driver hours and duty status to meet FMCSA hours of service rules. So instead of relying on manual logs or even handwritten notes, the system keeps everything accurate and up to date. And it's all in the background while the driver can just focus on the road. And obviously this is important because ELDs significantly reduce log violations. They help drivers stay legal with real-time alerts. They remove most of the burden of manual record keeping. And they build confidence with insurers and auditors because the data is consistent and, of course, big word, compliant, right? It's also worth noting that ELDs are usually added because the law requires them, not because a fleet manager just prefers to use them. If your operation does fall under federal HOS rules, an ELD is essentially a must-have for compliance. If you operate locally or under exemptions, the need is very different. When we talk about ELDs, the decision really comes down to your legal requirements. So let's walk through it step by step. Start with a simple question. Are your drivers subject to FMCSA hours of service rules? If so, an ELD is required. Easy peasy. At that point, your focus should be on choosing a model that integrates with the rest of your fleet portal. You want your data in one place, right? So that's essential. If you're not covered by those federal rules, the next thing to consider is whether you're already tracking hours manually. If you are, switching to an integrated ELD can save time, it reduces errors, it makes record keeping far easier for the drivers and the administrators too. If you're not required to track hours and you don't currently keep manual logs, then an ELD is not needed for you. But I would definitely review that decision again if your routes or your operations expand in the future. And I want to make sure I have one last note here. Some intrastate or short haul fleets may fall under exemption. So it's always a good idea to double check your specific state or the FMCSA guidelines. Asset tracking is really about knowing where your trailers, containers, and equipment are at all times. Unlike trucks, these assets don't move every day. They may sit at a job site for weeks or end up in a remote yard far from your daily operation. Without tracking, it's easy to lose visibility. With GPS asset tracking, you can quickly see what is in motion, what is sitting, and exactly where everything is located, which means less time searching for a missing trailer or wondering whether a container was moved without anyone knowing. It can also really help you plan dispatch more efficiently because you always know what is available as well as where it is. And that is a game changer. It's huge. The advantage is that you monitor your entire operation, trucks, and assets together all in one place, which of course gives you a much clearer picture of your fleet. And it eliminates the guesswork that often slows teams down. So deciding whether you need asset tracking really depends on how your equipment is used and how often it goes out of sight. So let's walk through a few quick questions. We'll start with the basics. Do you have mobile trailers or containers? If not, well then asset tracking really isn't necessary. So you could skip this part. But if you do, the next thing to think about is whether you've ever lost time trying to locate an asset or had concerns about theft. If the answer to that is yes, well, tracking can give you the ability to locate everything instantly instead of having to send someone out to hunt for it. From there, consider whether your assets move between different crews or job sites. When equipment gets shared or even passed around, it becomes much harder to know where it ended up, which is another strong reason to add tracking. If you need to know when something moves or enters or leaves a job site, then real-time movement alerts or geofencing becomes very, very valuable because in that case, tracking with alert features really helps you out. It's a super, super smart choice. But if you mostly manage low value or stationary assets that rarely leave your yard, then tracking's probably optional. So you can probably skip it, but definitely, as I keep saying, revisit it later as your operation grows or becomes more spread out. All right, so now that we've covered the core components, let's shift into a quick self-assessment. This will help you understand exactly where your fleet stands today and which systems could make the biggest immediate impact. All right, so this quick checklist is designed to help you identify which systems your fleet truly needs. All you have to do is look at each row and ask yourself whether the answer is yes for your operation. Each yes points you toward the component that would make the biggest difference for your fleet. If you checked yes in 2 or 3 rows, that usually means your fleet would benefit from a more integrated safety and telematics setup. If you checked only 1 row, it's often best to start small with the system that solves the most urgent need that you have. And of course, hey, if you didn't check any of the boxes, that's a great position to be in. Just plan to reassess every few months, because weather, claims, routes, they all change. So just keep an eye on it. Now that we've covered the full landscape of fleet safety systems and how to decide what you actually need, I want to take a moment to show you how Safe Drive Systems fits into that picture. Our goal here is to bring all of these core components together in a way that makes your job easier, while also reducing your risk and keeping your fleet moving with fewer distractions and fewer gaps. This section is all about what we can offer, how our approach works, and where we can add real value based on the needs you identified in the previous steps. So what makes Safe Drive Systems stand out is that every component we've talked about today can work together inside one unified platform. The radar, the dash cams, 360 vision, the ELD, the telematics, and the asset tracking all communicate seamlessly. That means one installation process, one training curve for your team, and one place to manage all of your data. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy everything. This platform we have is modular. So you select only the components that fit your fleet. So you don't end up overbuying. You don't end up underbuying. You just get the exact protection and control that your operation needs right now. And as your fleet grows or your risks change, you can add more tools without replacing anything. So instead of juggling separate systems that don't really talk to each other, you'll get one integrated view of the entire operation. And it makes your work simpler, it makes your decisions clearer, and it just gives you peace of mind. Safe Drive Systems is built for fleets that simply can't afford to have accidents. They can't afford downtime or complicated technology. Everything we offer is designed with real-world operations in mind. So managers get tools that will actually fit the way their fleet runs, not systems that do the opposite and slow it all down. Our solutions are retrofit friendly, which of course means they work across mixed-year vehicles without forcing you into expensive upgrades. And because we support fleets nationwide, installation and ongoing help are handled by experienced teams who understand the pressure you're under. They get your industry. You also get practical coaching tools. You get analytics that help improve driver behavior in a measurable way instead of just collecting footage or data that no one really has time to even sort through. Let me give you a quick real-world example of what happens when a fleet moves from operating blind to using a fully integrated safety stack. Before working with us, this fleet was dealing with constant downtime, repeated claims disputes, and insurance costs that just kept climbing and climbing. But it's not unusual. That's a pattern that many mid-sized fleets face when they don't have that reliable visibility. 6 months after implementing our system, their downtime dropped by roughly 35%, and their claims-related costs fell by about 40%. Those improvements came from fewer incidents, clearer proof during claims, and faster internal response when something did happen. The result's simple: fewer accidents, fewer claim resolution, and a return on investment that shows up directly on the balance sheet. Safe Drive Systems has been focused on fleet safety for over 15 years now, and today there are over 200,000 of our solutions deployed worldwide. Fleets choose SDS because the technology is proven, it's reliable, and it's built to handle the realities of daily operations. If your fleet is ready for safer routes, fewer incidents, and clearer control, then this is a really great time to explore what the right system could look like for you. All right, well, if any part of today's session made you realize your fleet could benefit from more visibility, more control, or simply fewer day-to-day headaches, we'd really encourage you to reach out to us. Our professional consultation team can help you understand which systems truly fit your operation, can walk you through every feature, and answer any questions you or your team might have. There's absolutely no obligation. It's simply a conversation to help you see whether there's a strong fit and to give you clarity before you make any decisions. And whenever you're ready, just schedule a quick consultation, talk with a specialist, or just visit our website and explore. Do your own reconnaissance there. But we're here to help you. We want to help you take the next step. We want you to do it with confidence, and we believe you can with us. So thanks so much for joining me today for our webinar on choosing the right fleet safety system. I really hope you gain some valuable insights. We here at Safe Drive Systems are passionate about helping you manage your fleet with confidence, as well as helping to ensure the roads are safe for all drivers. That's obviously what all of our goal is here. For more information, head to safedrivesystems.com. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for joining me.